The schools are a dead end. I mean, people need to really deal with this fact. Most American children are trained in schools run by the government. Okay? What is the government going to train those kids to be? Train them to be good American citizens. What are they not going to introduce in those schools as ideas? Anything that challenges the establishment, anything that challenges the status quo in any significant way, right? People are there's the cognitive dissonance about this. They don't ever sort of address that fact, which is just there, right? These are government schools. What is a government going to do in schools? What are they going to train those kids to do and be and how to think?
But when you say that, who's responsible for the curriculum?
The Sacramento in California, state capital, legislators, politicians, Democrats and Republicans.
But
and
educators, right?
No. When you get a job as a public school teacher, the curriculum is set for you. And now with the Common Core, it's set nationally. It's a national curriculum. No, you don't get a choice. I mean, they sneak in certainly their ideas. I have friends who are public high school teachers, and they sneak in their ideas, of course. But they're not supposed to. And the curriculum's handed to them. You're given a textbook. This is what you're going to teach. These are your lesson plans. These are the topics, right? You're not going to be able to talk about Lenny Bruce. But you should, right?
So you can't have a creative assignment for a class. You can't come in and say, you know what, my job is to teach history, but I want to give these people a real perspective.
Only so much as you can do it on the down low. Sure, teachers cheat, of course, but they're not supposed to, and you can get fired for it. I think Lenny Bruce and the history of stand-up comedy should be a central part of any education. I mean, I think that is one of the most important things in modern U.S. history. No doubt about that. Is it mentioned? Never. It's certainly not in the official curriculum, because those guys said bad words and they said naughty things.
So the official curriculum, what is the goal behind it? To be the most efficient at educating kids, or you think they're trying to program children?
So the American public school system was modeled after the Prussian system of the 19th century. And early American educators who founded this thing, public schools, Horace Mann and others, said explicitly, this should be a means to train children to be workers.
Jesus.
This was explicit at the time. It was explicit.
That's disturbing.
So it's actually, if you look at the way schools are operated and the format of them, it's like a factory, right? It's like an assembly line. They go from this class to that class to that class. They get trained in this and this and this. And they leave the doors and they go work in a corporation. That's what it's explicitly designed for, based on the Prussian system. So, I mean, that's not explicit anymore because that would turn off a lot of people, but that's what's being done. They're not training them. Why would the government train them to be critical intellectuals? Why would the government train them to think critically about everything? No. They can't. The government can't. The government has to have citizens who are law-abiding and who don't question the fundamentals of the society.
So do you specifically believe that they set the students up and they set the classes up in that manner, or do you think they do it because they feel like that's the most efficient way to produce the goals that they want to achieve, which is higher GPA, higher SAT scores?
And we have to compete with China and India. Yeah. So it's all internalized. I don't think anybody in these schools is thinking what I just said.
So you're not thinking
it's
that
just
it's
all internalized. It's just like, well, of course they've got to be good in math and engineering because we've got to, that's how you get a good job and that's how you're a good American. And I mean, you can talk about Rosa Parks now because she's now safe because we now live in an integrated society, right? But 60 years ago, you didn't talk about her. She was dangerous, right? That had to be sort of inserted. But now it doesn't challenge the status quo. It doesn't challenge sort of fundamental ideas of the society. Do you think they really debate democracy in public schools? No. Should it be debated? Of course, right? This is a major idea here.
Is that the platform to do it in high school? Do you think debating democracy?
I know lots and lots of high school students who would love to have that debate and are not able to in their high school. So what they do is they read books and they listen to podcasts instead.
When you talk about the government itself, isn't the idea of a representative government kind of an archaic thing in terms of it was all created back when communication was incredibly difficult? when you wanted a state representative, and one of the reasons for it is because like you couldn't, no one could get a hold of everyone in the state. You couldn't all get together and speak your mind about something. But now, because of social media and the internet as we know it now, forget about what the internet's going to be like 10, 15 years from now, which is going to be even more intense. But you could express yourself in a way now that just wasn't available before. You don't necessarily need a representative government. And the reason why they have to go to these fucking places like Iowa and campaign there, and it's a big part of the campaign trail, is just because of this weird fucking setup that they have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, the electoral college system, the primaries,
Yeah.
the two-party duopoly.
Ugh.
Oh, yeah, it's a mess.
It's disgusting.
It's basically a monopoly, right?
Yes.
Because the two parties differ only slightly.
Very.
Yeah.
Just tiny amounts.
The most exciting thing that happened in 2008 was not Barack Obama to me. It was Ron Paul and Ralph Nader joined forces with some other third-party candidates to break down the rules that bar third-party candidates, make it much more difficult for third-party candidates to have a viable campaign. I haven't seen that renewed really in any serious way since then. But that's what has to happen. We don't have real choice. You have to have real
Right.
choice. In Europe, they have real choice. They have parliamentary democracy, where there are many, many parties, and all sorts of parties are represented in the legislatures, right? You don't have that here. And I think that's why we have such low voter turnout, right? If there was actual choice, if you could actually see yourself represented among the politicians running, I think many more people would vote.
Yeah, I think there's a certain amount of futility that people feel when they look at the two-party system, and then they see where a guy like Barack Obama, arguably, at least in returns from like